Guitar Academy, another lesson on how to play a three-chord song if you've never played guitar before. This is lesson 8, on our way to learning how to play the C major chord. Today we're actually going to learn how to play the C major chord. But as always, before we begin, make sure you tune your guitar. I've already covered this in previous lessons. I use the clip-on tuner, the snark, and we tune our guitar strings one by one. So last lesson we learned our first scale, and a scale is a very important tool in our toolbox on learning how to play guitar. And in the future you're going to be thankful that you've learned how to play the C major scale and other scales as you progress. So again, let's review the C major scale. We go from the C note, which is on the 5th string, 3rd fret, C, open D, E, which is 2nd fret, 4th string, and F. This is also an octave. These two notes are the same, they're just separated by an octave. And then G, open G, same thing as that's an octave. So let's not get confused here. So C, D, E, F, and then 3rd string, open G, A, and then the 2nd string, open B, C, D, open string E is the number 1 string, F and G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, and then we go up to the 6th string, G, F, E, F, G, A, B, C. So remember we talked about the octaves. That's the root note, the C major of the C major scale. That's our root note or the tonic. The octave is there, so those are actually the same notes, just separated by an octave. Same concept as that's an octave, and then those 3 notes are the same notes. Let's not get too carried away with our music theory. So let's begin by or continue on by learning the C major scale. So the C major scale, you take your number 3 finger, which is your ring finger, put it on the 5th string, our A string, and we go 1, 2, 3, our 3rd fret. So start by just letting that ring out. That's our first note, C major chord, C, and then our next note is actually an E. Remember, that's our octave, so E on the D string, the 4th string, 2nd fret. So first note was C on the 5th string, 3rd fret. Our next note is the E, 2nd fret, 4th string. And then the G string is left open, so we let that ring out. And then we play with our index finger and place that on the B string, 1st fret, and that's our octave, and that makes the C major chord. And also don't forget the number 1 string is left open, so we let that ring out, and that's our C major chord. So again, let's review. First note is the C note on the 5th string, 3rd fret. Our second note is the E note, 4th string, 2nd fret. And then our next note is the G string left open, so we play that open. And then the next note after that is using our number 1 finger or index finger placed on the 2nd string, 1st fret. And then we let the E, the first E, ring open. We don't play the top string. So that's a basic way of playing the C major chord. There's an alternative way of playing the C major chord that you'll actually find in the notation books. But before we go any further, there's one thing I want to mention to you. Getting back to the topic of scales, get yourself one of these books. It's a very handy book. I've had one of these for, this is probably close to 12, maybe 15 years old. I've had it for ever, and I go through it all the time. It's a very good reference. It's The Incredible Scale Finder by the Hal Leonard Company. I know I always mention Hal Leonard, but their books are just so fantastic, such great resources, learning resources. So again, it's called Incredible Scale Finder. I know you can find this stuff on using Google searches, but why go through that bother when you have everything, all that you need right here? And one very interesting thing about this book is right at the beginning of the book on page 7, it tells you what chords match what scales. So if you want to really get into it and learn how to put together some really good improvisations and soloing, having the understanding of what chords matches what scales is very important to know. So the first thing that you'll find on the first page of the scales is the one that we practiced last time, which is the C major scale. Again, you can find that pretty much anywhere on the internet, but having it all in one place is a very handy resource. Now, there's an alternative way of playing the C major chord that I just showed you, and in this case, you're actually going to use all the strings. So the way you do it is again, use the same concept as before. We take the index finger, or the number 1 finger, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way in guitar books, and guitar teachers will always refer to your note hand, your chord hand, as index is number 1, middle finger is number 2, ring finger is number 3, and your pinky is number 4. You don't use the pinky as much as the other fingers. So you take your number 1 finger, the index, and place that on the 2nd string, 1st fret, and you still take the middle finger, which is the number 2 finger, and place that on the E note, which is the 4th string, 2nd fret. But then you take your ring finger, and instead of going on the root note, you place the middle finger, the ring finger, the number 3 finger, on the G note, which is 3rd fret of the 6th string, the top string. And then you take your pinky, or your number 4 finger, and place it on the root note, which is 5th string, 3rd fret, which makes a very nice sounding chord. So if you're playing it makes a much fuller sound. So I'll just get closer here. So number 1, number 2 is on the 4th string, 2nd fret. Number 3 is on the 6th string, 3rd fret, and the pinky is just below it on the 5th string, 3rd fret, and then just strum them all together, leaving the number 1 string open. So a nice full sound. The drawback I find, and why I never play the C chord that way, is because then you can't add in the flavorings, which I always like to play with. So maybe it doesn't have as full of a sound, but I think it's a little bit more flexible. You can do more things with it. So I'll leave it up to you, whatever way you want to play that C major chord. So I showed you 2 methods, one that looks like this, and the other one that looks like that. They almost look identical, it's just one has an extra finger involved. So again, I'll leave it up to you on how to play it. Another book I'd recommend is this one here called Incredible Chord Finder. So the other one was called the Incredible Scale Finder. And this is kind of like a companion edition, or a companion book, the Incredible Chord Finder. And here you have just about every chord you could imagine that you'd want to play on the guitar. And the way they show how to play the C major chord in this book is actually the second method, using all 4 fingers, where you have that shape right there. But again, I'll leave it up to you how you want to play it. There's 2 different ways of doing it. So those are my 2 book recommendations. I have lots of reference books, as you can imagine, and I like the Hal Leonard Company, but there are other book companies out there. So that's pretty much it for today's lesson. What I'd recommend to you is just practice making sounds using the chord that we just play it string by string. And if you feel adventurous, you can try so just try to add in a couple extra accent notes. So don't forget to check out www.intuneguitaracademy.com for more information on how to play guitar and all things guitar related. And check out our other videos. This has been lesson number 8, our second chord, the C major chord. In the next lesson, we're going to be practicing changing from one chord to the other. We're going to discuss a few other topics, and pretty soon we'll be going on to our third chord. So that's the eventual goal, is to play a 3-chord song in less than 30 lessons if you've never played guitar before. So thanks once again for joining me at the Intune Guitar Academy. This has been lesson number 8. We'll see you next time.